In the scorching lands of Africa, in a prosperous village, lived a young and pregnant woman named Zamora. After her husband, who served as the village defender, lost his life in an attack, Zamora was left alone. This event completely changed Zamora's life and placed a great responsibility on her. Despite being pregnant, Zamora was a brave and determined woman. In her heart there was concern for her husband's absence and the future of her unborn child. However, this concern did not weaken her determination to protect her village. On the contrary, thinking about her baby's future made her even more resolute to defend her village. Zamora's determination influenced the villagers, but as the threat to the village from its enemies increased, Zamora's courage would be further tested. As a pregnant woman, could Zamora protect her village? Or would she face defeat against her enemies? Zamora's struggle would determine the fate of the village. Saharas, the village-wise, was worried about Zamora's determination and dangerous mission. For her, staying in the village and taking care of her baby was more important than following her husband's path. However, despite Sahara's concerns and doubts about Zamora's courage, Zamora remained steadfast. To her, defending the village was part of continuing her husband's legacy. Despite Sahara's words, doubts began to creep into Zamora's mind, and uncertainties and dangers shook her determination. Supporting Zamora's determination was the village guardian Kofi. His courage and determination made him do everything to help Zamora. Kofi admired Zamora's determination and courage. To him, Zamora played a critical role in defending the village. However, faced with the power and number of their enemies, Kofi also had concerns. The future of the village was uncertain, and Kofi was worried whether Zamora's courage and determination would be enough to protect it. Kofi's support bolstered Zamora's resolve. In a period filled with uncertainties and dangers, Zamora's courage would be tested, and Kofi's assistance might determine the village's fate. Against the backdrop of the enemy's strength and number, the fate of the village was uncertain. Zamora had put herself in danger, but she also worried about risking her baby's life. Zamora was determined to protect her village, but the situation troubled her. She didn't know what to do to protect her baby. However, she couldn't allow her enemies to harm her village. Zamora had to deal with the conflict within herself to maintain her resolve. While struggling to protect her baby, the duty of defending the village also weighed heavily on her shoulders. Zamora's courage and determination might be the last ray of hope to defend her village. In a period filled with uncertainties and dangers, Zamora's inner conflict and concerns left her feeling alone amidst the war. The fear and hope burning in Zamora's heart, like a volcano, melted into the darkness, covering the night. Zamora, aware of the value of every moment, was ready to defend her village even with her pregnant body. Zamora was the hope of the villagers, the brightest star of the dark night. In her eyes, there was a determination, a stubbornness that even made her enemies tremble. Every step she took, every breath she took, she wrote the future of her village. Despite carrying her baby in her womb, her courage affected everyone. As the enemy's attack approached, the fire within Zamora intensified. Now, war was inevitable, but Zamora was ready to do everything to defend her village. The news of her enemy's approach cast a dark cloud over the villagers' hearts. In the dark sky, instead of the light of the stars, there shone the fiery arrows of the enemies. At the peak of the attack, there was a figure appearing in the village square on the dark night, the seer. His eyes sparkled with deep wisdom and mystery. His presence aroused both hope and fear among Zamora and the villagers. Every word uttered by the seer's lips felt like echoing from the sky. His prophecy would determine the fate of the village and Zamora. However, this prophecy would not only illuminate the future, but also shed light on the past. Zamora listened to the seer's words with great attention, feeling both hope and fear within her. This prophecy would be crucial for the future of the village community. The seer's prophecy created a turmoil among the villagers. While some were hopeful, others were filled with fear. However, there was one undeniable fact about this prophecy. The fate of Zamora and the village lay in the hands of this mysterious figure. The seer's thundering voice spread through the night and echoed in the ears of the villagers. "Zamora," said the seer, "your fate is intertwined with the fate of the village. You will be the protector of these lands. However, this journey will not be easy. The challenges you will face will shake you. But never lose courage and faith. Your baby will be a beacon of hope for this village. His name will be remembered eternally in these lands." The seer's words burned within Zamora like a fire. She was filled with both hope and fear. Carrying this great responsibility bestowed upon her by fate would not be easy. However, her faith and determination within her strengthened her even more. The seer's prophecy ignited a spark of hope in the eyes of the villagers. Now, Zamora had a sacred duty to be the guardian of her village. This prophecy fueled the fire within Zamora even more. She had become a force not only determining her own destiny, but also that of her village. As the tide of war unfolded, the village seemed almost on the brink of being lost. The enemies had rendered the village defenders ineffective, leaving the villagers in terror. Zamora's heart was filled with despair, until suddenly an idea dawned on her. Quietly, Zamora advanced towards the enemy's camp with a group of villagers. While doing so, she hid the rest of the village behind the defense walls. Just as they reached the enemy army's base, an idea struck Zamora. At the moment the enemies least expected, Zamora directed the village's best archers to sneak behind them and suddenly target the leaders of the enemy army. This shock attack scattered the enemy ranks and caused chaos. Zamora's brilliance and quick thinking completely changed the course of the war. When the enemies found themselves bewildered and defenseless, Zamora's courage and leadership guaranteed the village's victory. This sudden and ingenious move made Zamora a legend in the eyes of the village. Zamora's courageous leadership played a crucial role in protecting her village from the enemy. However, this victory came at a great cost. After the war, there was much loss and devastation in the village. Homes were reduced to ruins, and the streets were filled with the bitter traces of war. The lands were scorched by the fire of battle, and trees and fields were destroyed. Many villagers were injured or lost their lives, and children lost their families. While Zamora experienced the joy of victory, her heart also ached for the devastation of her village. The pain of each loss left deep scars in her heart. The sparkle in her eyes reflected the price she had paid for her village's future. However, paying this price was a sacrifice necessary for her village's future. After the devastation brought by the war, Zamora was determined to rebuild her village and give hope to her people. After the war, Zamora and the villagers came together to rebuild the village. They did their best to reconstruct the ruined buildings and streets. At every step, they confronted the traces of the past. Every wall, every street corner reminded them of the devastation brought by the war. However, under Zamora's leadership, the villagers united and prepared to move forward towards the future. The rebuilding process required sacrifice, patience, and solidarity. Zamora did her best to ensure the rebirth of her village, looking forward with hope and determination. Each stone placed, each brick laid, symbolized the village's return to life. The challenges encountered during this process showed how valuable each step was. The fires lighting up the night symbolized the gathering, solidarity, and hope of the villagers. Now, the village had taken the first steps towards rebirth, and a bright future lay ahead. In difficult conditions, and with the scars of war still fresh, Zamora's baby was born. This birth was a source of great hope for the village's future, because, as the seer predicted, the baby's name would be remembered eternally in the village. Zamora's baby would be its protector and shape the destiny of the village. As a beacon of renewed hope, the baby's presence was the guarantee of the village's reconstruction and prosperity. However, they would also face challenges in this new beginning. Zamora and her baby had a long journey and a future filled with trials ahead of them. 10 years later, the view of the village was quite different. Rebuilt buildings gleamed in the sun with colorful windows. Lush fields overflowed with bountiful crops, enriching the tables of the villagers. The streets were filled with the cheerful laughter of children and the sincere conversations of adults. Zamora was now known not as the village's heroine, but as a leader. Strong, wise, and respected, she guided the village towards the future. Beside her was a child who was once born as a little baby and had carved his name into legends. Zamora's child was a beacon of hope in the village and had won everyone's love. Kofi still served as the village guardian, but he had aged a bit with grey hair and deep lines. His courage and loyalty still earned everyone's trust. Sahara, on the other hand, continued to exist as the village elder. Guiding the youth with her advice and wisdom, she preserved the legacy of the village's past. Under Zamora's leadership, the village community had strengthened and united. They looked towards the future with hope.